Thank you for being with us this evening. My name is Eva Reyes, and I'm the Director of Parent and Family Relations. Um, Today is a really good topic. We're going to kind of talk about how, as parents, right, we could let our students advocate for themselves in and outside of the classroom. So we have our panelists from the Gloria S. Williams um, Advisement Center joining us, and they're going to be introducing themselves in a little bit. The session is being recorded, and our agenda is going to be, if you have joined us before, it's the same as always. We're going to do introductions, then we go into our panel discussion, and then any questions. Please make sure that you scan the QR code to sign in, but I'm also going to be dropping the link on the chat. So if you could please sign in so then I could send you all the materials tomorrow morning, that would be wonderful. If you have any questions, please make sure that you use the chat or the QA button. And it will be up to our presenters whether we're going to take time to answer those questions right at the moment, or if we're going to wait a little bit later, because we do have our discussion that we're going to be going through. So without further ado, please welcome the academic advisors from the Gloria S. Williams Advisement Center. So we're going to start with Paola first, because ladies first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paola Chaparro. I am an academic advisor and retention specialist at the Advisement Center here at Patterson University. Typically, right now, I am working or concentrating a lot more with the career communities for sports management, sports medicine, and also social services. So that is my concentration right now, at least for the freshmen, but I do work with essentially all the students at the university that have different majors as well. I've been working at the center for about 4 years now, and I'm just definitely looking forward for tonight. Next, we have my colleague, Cesar Castro.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's a beautiful, gorgeous day for an October day, so we definitely thank you for being a part, and please, we encourage everyone that is joining us this evening to ask questions. So my name is Cesar Castro. As my colleague has said, we hail from the Advisement Center. I've been with the university now going on to 14 years. So I know just a little bit of everything. All of us are cross-trained for every major in all of our colleges here at the university. So we possess a wealth of knowledge that we certainly look forward to sharing with you, and hopefully you'll have something to walk away with this evening. So welcome. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Greenhouse.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? My name's Jason Greenhouse. Like my colleagues, I'm also an advisor. I oversee all the students like everyone else, as they discussed. This year, I am helping students of my bio pre-med and the social sciences, just like Paola. A little bit about me. 4 years, started same time as Paola, been at the university, seen a lot of growth. It's been amazing. Working with the students has been the best part of my job on a daily basis. Little backstory about me is that I've been in higher education for 18 years now. I did a bulk of my experience working in residence life and the students that live on campus. So I come with some fun stories that I'll never share, I promise. But we're here just to answer your questions and do what we can to make sure we can make your students' lives as best as we can.
Okay, so to get started, and thank you so much for introducing yourself. To get started, we wanted to give a little background in regards to our office. I know that hopefully everyone here already has an idea of what we do, but pretty much we are the Advisement Center of the university, and our mission is to promote student success by empowering undergraduate students to take responsibility for achieving their academic goals. So essentially, when a student comes into the university, they get assigned an academic advisor, and that advisor actually works with them all the way onto graduation. We typically work with all of the majors at the university except for music. and fine arts. So if a student is doing like a BFA, that's those programs are more, let's say, complex and so on. So they have a faculty advisor that works with them because they tend to be a lot more credits than other programs. We're typically open Monday through Fridays, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. And students essentially are able to connect with the advisor via email. We also have Microsoft Teams. So there's a lot of ways that students can connect with us, especially during the first freshman year, because they do have us in Willpower. So that is a really great opportunity for students to be able to get to know us a lot more in the classroom, and also kind of foster a relationship with advisors and also other students academically. We are getting into the discussion time of our portal. So what we wanted to do is kind of open up the floor for advisors and everyone here on the call to be able to kind of explore a few questions that typically we hear from parents in terms of how do we best support students on campus, but also at the same time, how can they make sure that their student is getting everything that they need? Because sometimes as parents, it feels that, oh my God, my student is coming to the university. Maybe I'm not really aware of everything that's happening at the university, but I want to support them. So how I can be best of assistant. And that's what we are here for. A little personal information, but two of my colleagues here from the panel are parents. I am not, so they are going to be able to also give you more of a perspective as well. So take the time to ask any questions that you may have for us, and we look forward to the discussion. So the first question that we have here is, what can I expect from instructors if my student is struggling?
Go ahead and start the discussion. So one of the ways that instructors connect with students is via a syllabus at the beginning of the semester, where the instructor provides their office hours, the resources that we have available here on campus. We also have a system that we all use called Navigate, where the instructor, if they feel that the student is struggling in certain areas, such as attendance, assignments, or just engagement overall, puts the alert in the system so that the assigned advisor and also the success team that the student is assigned to, and the success team includes people in career services, financial aid, but the primary contact will be the advisor, gets a notification, which would then do a follow-up with the student to just go over any challenges or any tools that they may be missing or are in need of, so that they can address those challenges accordingly, so that this way they don't fall behind any schoolwork. So I'm just wanted to just mention more of the technical stuff or sort of the technology of how we get our students involved and how instructors are involved and how we get involved. But also just having a conversation with students. College is a phase where now, prior to starting a profession, it's a good platform, I will say. And I tell my students it's a laboratory of life, right? Like the instructor, essentially, that will be someone that will be your manager, your director. How do you communicate with your manager or your director? And what are their expectations coming into class, i.e. work, right? So it's sort of transitioning the student to begin thinking in ways that they have to think outside the box, think outside, or get themselves out of their shell, so that they become more comfortable over time, having those conversations, etiquette, email etiquette, and just developing those communication skills that are really required in the working world, right? So it is a professional setting, and this is the best way to really put emphasis and really help the student make that transition and over time evolve into that profession that we all anticipate and want our students to be.
So I would like to add to the discussion, because you as parents, right, you know your student best, right? Like we are just getting to know them, but you know them best. So I have had plenty of instances where I have had family members reach out to me and say, my student is struggling. What can we do to ensure that they are achieving success, whether it's like outside of the classroom, maybe they're just not connecting with all the resources, like the activities that are going on campus, or they're just having a really difficult time if in the classroom, right? So one of the first things that I do, we sit down, we have a conversation to kind of dissect really what the problem or the bottom line is. And then if a student is like a first year student, then I connect with the academic advisor who is their almost 100% of the time is their willpower instructor. And then we do a check-in with the student. Because at the same token, we want to make sure that we are empowering the student to advocate for themselves with minimal parental interference, right? Although you are the one that is making the contact for us to do the outreach. And isn't it been proven effective, because again, you are the one that mostly knows your student and how they function in academic setting. So, so when we partner up all together, then we try to find those avenues to ensure that we are bringing the resources to the student and that we know who to connect them with so that in turn they are successful. I don't know if anyone else wants to add, but Caesar answered the question in the chat, which was what if my child has a problem grasping the classwork? Do you want to elaborate on that, Caesar?
Yes. So there's different areas in where a student can be experiencing challenges. And I always make mention, or I always ask students, like, what are your learning styles? Are you an oral, that you're listening? Are you a visual learner? Because just like anything, when you come into the university, you're going to have instructors that are going to be just presenting and giving information with very minimum time to perhaps even have feedback or just a Q&A. Or you have very interactive instructors that are going to constantly be asking questions to the audience for students to answer to. And both can be challenging because you could have a student whose learning style is not so much really sharing like information or participating. And then there are others that are great note takers and they're fine with just an instructor presenting the information. So all of these areas require adjustment, right? It requires adjustment, and we do have workshops that we do present throughout the year that is done through our different areas and resources to campus on study skills, communication skills. We also offer a writing center. We have tutoring available. So we have basically all the resources to cover all the areas in which a student, if they're not grasping the information, can get help in. I always tell students that instructors, everyone at the campus, we're not mind readers. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, that's a good thing that we're not mind readers. But communication is key. Communication is key. And I always tell students, I joke, I tell them, if you're not using your instructor's office hours, you just gave that person a free hour lunch, right? So always ask questions, even if they're not comfortable to ask during the class, they can always do so after and before class, emailing the instructor. Because now at this stage versus high school, there's a level of independency, right? And that level of independency on all these areas is what's going to build a student confident throughout their academic journey, so that this way, when they find themselves struggling in something, they'll know how to manage it. But we help them with that as well. Like when we have one-on-one conversations with students, and we probe a lot to make sure that we're targeting the right areas and where to point the student to find that resource so that they don't find themselves struggling in class.
Something that I always tell, because we work so closely with students, we also work with the parents, right? So sometimes something that I always tell, at least the parents of my student, is like, make sure that, to help the student advocate for themselves. And that goes hand in hand with, supporting their independence a little bit more. Because that way the student is going to feel more comfortable in future classes and pretty much just future, for example, academic concerns, if any arises. At the end of the day, like advisors, we're always going to be there for the student. But the student also has to make sure that they're doing their part and letting us know as well, like, hey, I might need help scheduling a tutoring appointment. And we are more than like, we could sit down with the student, show them how to schedule an appointment. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure the student is able to move forward. And we also want to make sure that we're building their independence, but also building the confidence within being in school. So the resources the students are going to have them. So typically as advisors, we do send the resources that we do have on campus. So typically tutoring, workshops, and so on during the first week of classes and throughout the semester. So students kind of get familiar with them. And also when there is, for example, a concern with any particular class that the professor may have, we also provide the resources for the student. And like I said, help them schedule appointments if needed with the student as well. Anything else that anyone want to may add, or we could move on to the next question?
So just as a point of information, my colleague Eva just posted some of the resources that we have on campus, and they're great resources. A lot of them are run by our student-led, where you have that peer-to-peer communication and relationship building. And it's very, very helpful to students. And one other thing I want just to add is during finals, our librarians are amazing, where our library remains open for about a week or two, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong, 24/7. So the student has the ability, the accessibility of all these sources at the palm of their hands. There is not one thing that we can say that the student doesn't have for them to take advantage. This is all included in the tuition. All of this is included in the tuition. I tell students, if you're not using the resources, you're basically not using the tools to be successful. So the student that does utilize these resources, they go and they create relationships, and they know how to manage themselves. They'll know when and where to go if they ever face a challenge, and that happens early on. You identify that early on in the semester, not in the fourth week, not in the fifth week, not in the sixth week, because our semesters go by very, very quickly. But we're already into week 9, if I'm not mistaken, probably week 10. And there's just 4 solid weeks remaining of the semester, and then that's it. We're going to go on the winter break. So all the resources are there, and we constantly remind students, here are the resources. Here's how we can help you, because at the end of the day, a student's success is depending on how much work and how much time they invest during the semester.
Thank you so much, Caesar. So for our next question, we have, what are the differences with class modality? Jason, can you please answer this question for the parents, please?
Why, sure thing there, Paula. No, I'm playing with you. So modalities, there's a lot of times that this word gets thrown around and our students may not know exactly what it means, but this is the way the class is being taught. Is it being taught in person? Is it being taught virtually through a Zoom session? Is it asynchronous online? Is it a hybrid, half in person, half online? There are a lot of different modalities that we offer, and I'll just go through them really quick. The first one is in person, really traditional. You go to class 2-3 times a week. You sit in a classroom. You have conversation. The professor talks. Conversation incurs. You meet students. You actually get that one-on-one interaction, and you get the old school, how I like to look at it, feel for a classroom and all that good stuff that goes on. Secondly, the next modality is hybrid. Now, this is where you still have that traditional in person, but instead of meeting the whole time in the twice a week in person, it is now split. And that is asynchronous. And asynchronous is an online portion of the class. So if your students in high school had Google Classroom, or if they had Blackboard, we use Blackboard here at William Patterson, is our online classroom, shall I say. And during this classroom, there is no teacher that actually sits like we are right now in a Zoom session. Caesar talked about and brought up the syllabus. So the syllabus will dictate what happens during the online portion, meaning they log on to Blackboard, they read the syllabus, and in the syllabus we'll have assignments and discussion posts, stuff that is due to keep the student up to date with what is supposed to be taught for that week of class. The difference is that these assignments could be due any day of the week by 11:59 p.m. So there could be a time where, let's just take a real simple assignment. Please introduce yourself to the class and say hi to 3 other students. So in the discussion board post, I will say, hi, my name's Jason Greenhouse. I'm a race car driver and I live in Brooklyn. I don't, but you get what I'm saying. And you do something like that. And then you say, oh, hey, Paula, pleasure to meet you. I see you're from West Virginia. Must be nice down there. Or, hey, Caesar, you're from California. Wow, how are you dealing with the time difference? And this way you're building that online community, because nowadays everybody's attached to these little things called cell phones. So we want to make sure that we could put that down and have that interaction both in person and online, and that's our hybrid class. Now, asynchronous is that half of the class that I was talking about where you go through Blackboard 100% of the time, which means the student needs to be on top of their time management skills. They need to check in as daily as they check their Instagram, which means if they're on their Instagram 3 times a day, they should be checking their email and their Blackboard 3 times a day, because the professor will post things in an announcement portion of the Blackboard module. They will have to know when certain things are due. More importantly, how to submit, when to submit, what times things are due. The best part about this modality is that if any of your students have jobs, that offers them the opportunity to have daytime jobs or nighttime jobs and still time manage to get everything done. And again, everything is due by 11:59 unless otherwise instructed by the professor, but it allows more flexibility with your day and your time to make sure things get done. And then we do have online, and there are very few sections, but we do offer it, where class is taught via Zoom. And with those, identical to what we're doing right now, along with the Blackboard shell. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you so much. Something that I also wanted to mention is, as parent, what we as advisors encourage is to make sure to have a conversation with the student and let them know, like, hey, make sure that when you're registering for classes, because right now, for example, students should be registering for classes, by the way, is to let them know, like, make sure that you're choosing classes in a modality that really works for you. So what I mean by that is, for example, if a student knows that they cannot really do well or perform well in classes that are asynchronous, then taking classes in person might be the best option. Now, I will have to say this. It is important for the student to really work with the advisors, because unfortunately for some students, we do have certain majors that are really big on having classes that are asynchronous. So for majors like that, for example, one of them is history. For majors such as history, it is important to work one-on-one with the advisor just to see how the student could better move forward. Especially that way we connect them with services, connect them with the professor and so on, because at the end of the day, we want them to be able to graduate, but we also want to make sure that the student is going to be able to perform well in their classes.
Something I just want to add to piggyback. Typically, first year students, freshman year, we do not allow our students to take online asynchronous courses without approval. We do know there's certain situations, whether it's family obligations, whether it's work obligations, that may be the best bet. But our goal as an institution is the first year is to build that support in the classroom on campus. So they know the resources that Caesar was talking about that Eva put in the chat for you guys to see, so that they could see who Jason Greenhouse is, meet their advisor, develop those relationships with those professors, because those go a long way when it comes for internships or it comes for grad school and they're looking for recommendations, or better yet, if there's a job on campus that they're looking to get, they could get the recommendation from their professors, from their advisor. So we definitely push for definitely fall and spring semester that all the classes are given in person. Something I just want to add, willpower is all taught by advisors. There's about 14 of us in our department, to which we cater to the freshmen. We meet with them 3 times a week, and we help them with everything that we need, that they may need. It's like a freshman seminar class where we lay the foundation for success. So all those things that Caesar was talking about, the tutoring center, the resource center, how Eva was putting in the science enrichment, we literally do what's it called? Walks and tours on campus, to show them where they are literally during class time. We are a class that allows them to grow and ask the questions that typically they can't ask in the classroom, so they don't feel like, oh my God, I don't know where to go, and they're embarrassed to say something. No, willpower is exactly where they ask those questions, and we highly encourage it. Our job as advisors is to make sure that they're the driver of the car. This is their collegiate experience. Our job is to be co-pilot and make sure we have them on the right path to graduate. Do students with disabilities have first? I missed that question.
I'm responding to it on the chat.
Okay, awesome. He'll take care of that. But
so I wanted to add, to tie it in like with this whole letting go, right, and supporting the independence. As a mom with a high school student, you want to control everything, right? And you want to stay on top of like how are they doing in their classes, and I don't know if you're like me, you want to keep checking like how they're doing, like their grades, are they progressing, are they like regressing, like what is going on. But when they get to college, because of FERPA, like a lot of those things go away. Like you don't have that accessibility to be able to reach out to a professor, to see how the grades are looking. So that's why it's important to have conversations with your student and ask them, hey, how was your day? Something as simple as, how was your day? What did you do today? And that will open up the lines of communication, and you extend like an olive branch. Like, do you need help with this? Or are you able to handle it yourself? And if they're able to, and they want to run their plan by you, then you accept it with open arms, even. And I know, because I'm like that, even if you want to just jump in and be like, I'll take care of it, But that's why we want to foster those relationships with the instructors, because the modality of how those classes are being taught is really going to affect how they relate to the overall university experience.
And that's why willpower is so important for students, because at the end of the day, like I said, they're there to work with advisors, and it's kind of like their first step to making sure that they're making a connection with the community at the university. So as parents, we just ask of you to talk to your student, make sure that, ask them questions like, hey, how's it going in willpower? Like, have you communicated with your advisor? Like if you have any concerns, make sure you're communicating with them, because like I mentioned before, they're going to be hopefully working with us until their graduation. So we want to make sure that they get all the tools that they need to be able to be successful. And one of them is by making sure that the relationship between us, the student, and the parent, right, is seamlessly, that they're getting kind of the same information for sure. So we are going to move on to the next question. So this one is, if my student is socially introverted, what services or activities are offered on campus? So I can start by answering this question. So pretty much with this one right here, we actually have a portal called Pioneer Life. And essentially it is a portal that allows students to pretty much see all of the campus activities and organizations that we do have on campus throughout the semester. So for example, let's say a student is interested in becoming a part of the math club and they really want to explore it. They don't know who to reach out to. They don't know when the meetings are. Pioneer Life, which is on the WP Connect account, by the way, allows them to be able to go into the system, see who the point of contact is for that club, for example, and then that way they can reach out to the club. Also, when they click on the club, they are also able to see if there's any meetings coming up, if, for example, there's any volunteering opportunities or whatever is happening within the club, they're going to be able to see it there. Throughout the semester, though, for example, if a student is not really interested in participating in a club per se, but they do want to get involved on campus, even by attending, for example, some of the workshops that we have. Some of them are academic, some are social, some are volunteer work. So it just depends on their interest, but we do have a lot of different clubs and activities that students do enjoy. So if they're interested in something, they could click on it. They will be able to see a flyer with the information, description of the event, and then they'll be able to essentially attend the event. Now, let's say that the student, for example, is not able to find any clubs or activities that they are interested in on campus. They actually are able to form their own clubs. It does take a little bit of work. I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing to do. However, if they're interested in something, there are ways for them to be able to bring into campus. They could talk to the advisor, and the advisor would definitely connect them to the right person on campus to be able to start that. But there is opportunity for the student to essentially find something that they are passionate about. And also advisors could help them as well look for different opportunities on campus as well. But Pioneer Life, is the one place that we typically recommend for the students to check. Does anyone want to add to that? Okay, perfect. So if students have any questions, just let them know, talk to your advisor. But like I said, WP Connect, Pioneer Life, everything is going to be there in regards of being more active on campus for sure. And activities actually start coming up even before the semester starts. Clubs and also different campus departments actually start putting up their flyers even before the semester starts. So students could actually start seeing things that are going to be happening before they step a foot on campus. So just to kind of put that out there. Okay, so the next question that we have is, what is the difference between faculty, academic advisor, and mentor? If any of my colleagues want to take this question.
Yes. So to begin with the first one, the faculty is so faculty mentor and academic advisors, the difference, right? Between the two. Okay. So the academic advisor has the student assigned to them from first year to senior year. And we're heavily involved throughout the academic, I guess, trajectory for that student, with class selection, with advisement, connecting to resources. And the faculty mentor will be the individual that will be more, possesses the knowledge, I would say, possesses the knowledge in terms of the program that the student is in, the major, can help and assist with networking and or internship opportunities when they get to the latter part of their academic trajectory, i.e. their junior and senior year. And also could give them insight as to the classes that they're taking within the program with certain specifications and details that we perhaps as advisors have just a general idea or knowledge of that such class, whereas the faculty mentor will have more detail and can go more into the nuts and bolts of what constitutes and what makes up that particular class. So I will say that's one of the biggest differences. There is interaction with the academic advisor, and all throughout the years, the faculty mentor comes to the latter part and has more detailed information as to the program, what is new, and information on specific classes that they should be taking, along with what information entails that specific course. If anybody else wants to have anything to that, I yield to my colleagues.
So I would say that with a faculty mentor, so for example, the students, especially first year, right? When they start the university, they get the academic advisor. And the academic advisor works with learning willpower. Now, the faculty mentor essentially gets actually introduced, typically their second year at the second semester at the university. And we actually try in willpower to start kind of forming that connection within the faculty mentor and the student in the classroom for the second year, because sophomore year comes around, that's when we want the students to start actually communicating a lot more with a faculty mentor, just because it is important. Yes, it is important for the students to be doing well academically and working with advisors, but it's as well as equally important for them to be able to network with professionals within the field, for them to be able to get I would say broad outlook in regards to what the career is going to look like for them as well. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are allowing students to be able to explore and make as many connections as possible. And that's why willpower is so important the freshman year, because at the end of the day, this is where the introduction, so a lot of the things that are on campus are happening there. The same thing with the clubs from before, for example, students for willpower have to attend events in the class for them to get involved. The same way that we connect them with faculty mentors. So it is kind of like a process that we work with, and also people that we work with throughout the semesters for them to be able to get engaged. And as parents, something that we do want to emphasize is we want you to make sure that and to ensure that the student is going to be okay. We are here to help them. And we do appreciate all the help that you do. And we definitely work with them as they go. And we want to make sure that they get to the finish line, which is graduation. And that's why we appreciate you working with them. But we also want to build that independence for the student. And we want to make sure that they are actually learning how to ask the questions, how to build connections, how to get ready, for example, for the graduation process and the interviews and the internships and so on. So that's why we start from the beginning, or when they stay foot on campus, by kind of start forming those relationships with advisors, because we want the best for them moving forward.
So I'm going to do a shameless plug in this section, actually, because our next Real Talk series session is actually going to talk about how we could mentor for success, right? So we're going to have members of the Career Development Center come and talk to us how you can be a mentor and how students could look or apply for a mentor. And mentors, aside from the faculty mentor, right? These are people that are already in the field, have had many years of experience, are very successful in their fields, and they want to give back, right? They want to give back by taking under their wing a student so that they could show them the ropes. And I think that that's one of like the best things that could happen to a student, because 90% of the time that student graduates with a job under their belt or with such massive experience that their resume is golden and they will be hired anywhere after post-graduation. So if you could join us for that next session, and that one is on November 20th, that would be great, because we will tell you how students could get a mentor and then how you can give back to other students and be a mentor yourself.
Parents get swag. Eva?
I'm sorry, what was that?
If anybody becomes a mentor of the parents, do they get any Pioneer swag?
I will make it a point to get Pioneer swag.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so we're going to move to the next question. So we have, what does the success team exist?
So I will take this one. So success team. So the success team is made up of everyone that your student, your child, will be interacting with when they come here to William Patterson. So their first touch point is their academic advisor. If they live on campus, it's possibly their RA, their resident assistant, their resident director, the director. That's all part of their success team. In addition, they have a financial aid advisor, which strictly deals with their money and their finances. Then we have a career services, which is to talk about what Paola mentioned in terms of internships. They have that advisor. If they're an athletic team member, they have their coaches. And as you see, it goes so on and so on to become members of clubs and organizations or fraternities and sororities. They also become included with that. Now, what I want to tell you is that this success team kind of branches off where you guys give your students to us so we can teach them here at William Patterson. So the care and the support that you give them at home, that's what the success team is supposed to emulate. However, though, you guys come and it is a very emotional attachment. That's your baby that you're sending away. Don't worry. It's like Allstate. You're in good hands with us because we have everything covered for you. Usually their touch point and their main touch point is their academic advisor. And we could refer out. We also have members of our health and wellness team in case they're having issue or in case they get sick or they need to talk to someone. We have members that they could talk to, which would emulate if they were to call home and be like, hey, oh my God, we got you. So the success team is to do everything that we can from A to Z, just like Amazon, that we will take care of everything that may come up. Now, the one difference is that, and this alludes to what Mr. Castro mentioned in the chat, is that in order for this success team to be successful, your child will have to advocate for themselves. We are not mind readers. It is great to have that because if so, I'll be honest with you, I'll be a millionaire and you won't be talking to me. But we are here to help. And the first thing that we encourage and try to empower is self-advocacy. So if your child, your son, your daughter has any issues that may arise, whether it's personal, such as they may need a job on campus, academic, they're struggling in a class, they're interested in possibly reworking their resume, career services, or if they want to talk to someone because maybe they live on campus and they're homesick, wellness, we kind of have it all covered. In addition, of course, there's food on campus. It is the best ever, said no one, but it is great because we have a lot of accessibility. So they're fed all the time, as well as we have quick check right down the block that they could walk to. So our success team empowers them to be able to grow as individuals and as young adults. So when it comes to the overall arcing, what does a success team means, is there's a set of faculty and staff that will be there to help your child throughout the course of their academic career to make sure that they graduate. And it means everything from A to Z. All they have to do is advocate and ask the right questions, and they will get the help. And here's one little tidbit that no one will ever say that I will. There are times I don't know the answer, but I got you. I'm going to phone a friend, and I'm going to find who's going to get you that help, and I will refer you. We have a great network in terms of we communicate with other departments, that there's going to be no issue unsolved. And if it is tough, is tough, well, then it's a learning session for all. Because as much as we're an institution, we don't know everything. And if we did, we'll all be millionaires and billionaires, and I'll be having fun. But that's not where we're at. We are students of life, and that's how we promote everything moving forward. And that is what the success team does, and that's why it exists. Hopefully that answered your question.
So Jason, you touch upon on something that a lot of our students experience and even family members, where they don't know what they're asking for. right? So they may be struggling, may be going through something, but they just don't know how to articulate themselves. So, what kind of tips can you provide to help facilitate that for the student or the family member?
So, two things. First, for the students, um, a lot of students tend not to be fans of public asking questions because it may be a fear of insecurity, a fear of, oh my God, I'm vulnerable, and you're letting other people see that. Definitely talk to your advisor, talk to one of us. And what we could do is that we could have a meeting, we could have it in a private session, we could have it literally in a cafe that we have on campus. However, the student is comfortable, and all we need to ask is what's going on and tell us how you feel. And if the student does not know, if your child does not know how to articulate, we have a series of questions that we have ingrained in us that we're going to ask. So we could get those answers out to better assist. But we need those questions. We need to create that environment that they feel comfortable to ask, to be vulnerable with us, quote and unquote, so we can get those questions out. And that's where the relationship with the advisor is very important. Now, from a parent standpoint, I have a child that is looking to go to college, and it's really interesting. So I'm in the same boat. She's in high school. It's to create that environment where your child knows that you have their back, and that if they don't know, and create it so that they're comfortable to talk to you. And then when they talk to you, then kind of say, hey, you know what? I think you should reach out to someone on your success team. There is somebody there. And more importantly, have them look at their success team through Navigate, have them see what's going on, and just give them the support that, you know what, everything will be okay. College is a new experience. It's not like your traditional elementary school, middle school, high school. It's repetitious for a long time, 12 years, maybe a little more if you went to pre-K, but it's repetitious. College life is very new and could be very scary, especially when you're by yourself. You don't have to go home if you live on campus, to parents. And it's kind of like that unseen umbilical cord, because now they're on their own. Everything that you have taught them is going to come to fruition. So that toolbox of knowledge that you've created for them from the time they were born to the time they go to school, they're going to have that skill set. So we need to make sure that they could utilize the correct tools at the right situation. And you are like the get out of jail free card. I got to go home, talk to a family member, and just direct, empathize with them and say, let's connect you with your advisor. Let's connect you with your professor. Send an email, set up a appointment. That's how we can help do that. Just try not to make them feel that they are by themselves, because isolation and silence are cousins and they work hand in hand together. We need to make sure that they are able to vocalize and could speak up for themselves. But I yield to my others to
I would say that I would add to what Jason is saying, like something that, for example, I see a lot from my student is they're a little bit scared of disappointing their parents. And I think that's like a big one for them. It's like, they're in college. This is new for them. As a freshman, sophomore, they're still trying to figure things out. And they're trying to make sense of everything that's happening when you step into something new, essentially. And a lot of things can happen your freshman year. A lot of things can also happen your sophomore year, because there's no straight path for students, right? If there was a straight path, I will love that, right? That will make it so much easier. Student comes here, graduates, no problem, they're set. But not everything is like that. So something that I always tell my students when they come into my office and be like, you know what, I'm not doing well academically. I'm disappointed. I don't want to talk to my parent because I'm going to disappoint them and they're going to get mad at me. It's kind of coming more from that understanding, like, hey, you know what, I'm here for you. But I also think that it's important for you to get that support from your parent. You could communicate with them, of course, as long as they feel safe and comfortable with the parent. But that's why also as advisors, we want to make sure that as parents, you try your best. And I'm not saying everyone here, but like at least like make the student feel safe and comfortable that they're able to come to you and let you know, like, hey, I'm not doing well academically. And instead of coming from a place of like oh my God, you need to figure out like something is happening, like a negative space, like how can I help you? And that's, at least from my students, I've seen that a lot, that they are more afraid of like kind of the parent being negative about how they're doing rather than being supportive. And I'm not saying that this is happening in this room, but I'm just saying that that's something that, for example, my students have shared with me. It's like, I want to make sure that I make my parents proud. And I'm not doing well right now, but I know if I tell them X, Y, and Z, it's not going to be well taken when I speak to them. So
Right.
I wanted to put that out there.
So I guess that, sorry, Jason, just because we're coming into the hour and there was a question in the chat, which definitely tied into what Paola's just said, like what tips can we offer parents when we see that our child is starting to feel overwhelmed and possibly started skipping some classes? So I think that that's a good way to tie it in. Looking at things from a positive
Mm-hmm.
way where the student doesn't feel attacked but rather supported, and that at the end of the day we're going to figure it out together. And when I mean together, it's like all of us, and just because the student has a support system, I want you guys to know that I am your support system, right? And then I'm the link that kind of like brings everything together. So don't ever feel that you can't reach out to the university and ask for help if your student can't do it themselves.
Yeah, and Ava, if you want to email Ava, like, at the end of the day, Ava will make sure to connect also with the advisor. So if you feel like your student is like, you need that extra support and you want them like to reach out, but they don't really want to at that point, or they feel like they can't, you could always email Ava. Ava will connect with, for example, their advisor, and then the advisor will definitely, make that like outreach to the student without even saying like, hey, your parent told me. Because when we speak to the student, we never say, hey, your parent told me that this is happening. We just kind of come from the understanding and perspective of like, hey, how's everything going? Tell me how you're doing. Like, that's something that I always do with my students. The first question I ask them is like, how's everything going? And they're like, how's everything academically? How are you doing mentally, physically? I always ask those questions because sometimes if students is not doing well, sometimes it's deeper than like, oh, I'm just fitting a class. So we're there to support them. We want to make sure that we're working with you. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, the student moves forward as smooth as possible, right? But we do need your support for sure.
So,
And disclaimer, sorry, Jason, and disclaimer, yes. But if you contact me like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, then there's a problem. And we kind of need to figure it out. Because then at that point, we kind of need to tell the student, listen, like your parent keeps like reaching out. So we kind of like need to figure this out. And also if there's like an imminent threat, like if the student is in danger or something like that, like or others are in danger, then that's a different course of action. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to add real quick a few things I just want you to understand about college life. The easiest part about being in college is the academics. It's very routine. It's either Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes at certain times, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, evening, hybrid, online. Everything is very routine and laid out. That is the easiest part about attending a college or university. The hard part is everything that comes outside of it, which is the time management to do the work, delegating certain times to be here, to be present, the commute time if they commute, the on campus, the life that happens in the residence halls, the socialization, the trying to find a place where they fit in, a social niche, a support system amongst friends. All that is what ties in and makes college life so much fun, but at the same time could be challenging. As a parent, to understand that will go such a long way. Something that I tell my students and all of them, it doesn't matter how old they are, if they're adult learners or if they're freshmen, is that this is the only time in their life that they could be selfish. And I don't mean selfish, they could eat whatever they want and stuff like that. Academically, because this is what they want for their future. So if you support their dreams and aspirations, clearly if they want to be a race car driver, it's not going to happen at William Patterson. But if they want to be a psychiatrist, if they want to be an artist, a musician, a teacher, a lawyer, something in business or finance, understand that this is their time to be selfish for 4 years. Our job as advisors is to take that selfishness and turn it in and make it materialize into a degree and a program over 4 years. And if you could understand that you guys are always going to be the parents, but it's what your child wants, it will go such a long way. Because I see a lot of students that come into my office, and I'll use this one for example. His parents want him to be a doctor, but science and biology was his weak suit. So he kept trying and he wasn't doing well. And then I asked him, what do you want? And he said he wanted to be a computer science major. So I said, let's take one course, just one course. That one course was an A, and he excelled and he graduated with a computer science degree, and his parents supported him because he vocalized of what he wanted. So at the end of the day, if you understand the mindset that we project, that it's all about them and what they would like to do, and you could support their dreams and aspirations, at the end of the day, that is the keys to success in and outside the classroom.
So we want to just open the floor for the next few minutes to see if anyone has any questions for us before we close out the session for tonight.
And you could unmute yourself. That's fine.
I just wanted to add really quickly. I know I said I was going to be a fly in the wall because I had some dental work and I'm kind of lisping right now. But one of the things I did want to add, and I'm Joanna from Student Enrollment Services, is all of our offices are safe places for students. I sometimes have had students be very embarrassed or ashamed to talk to me about something personal or something financial that's happening. Like something very simple as like, I can't afford a laptop and I need to do my schoolwork. We have resources and means to be able to help students with these things. We just need to know about it. So encourage your students to speak up. It's all safe spaces, guaranteed. A lot of things that students are experiencing, we've heard them 1,000 times. But they have to ask and they have to speak up because we're not mind readers. So that is my one little nugget for today that I also wanted to encourage you to tell them you're in a safe space. We come from the same households. We are first generation. We are, multi-generation, we live in multi-generational households. We've experienced it all. So I highly encourage you to speak with your students, to talk and speak up.
I just want to close out with some final thoughts, some key points and takeaways from tonight's presentation. Is number one, encourage independence with your student. Number two, stay informed. Stay informed with everything that is going on at the universities, financial aid, events, everything in between. Check in with your student regularly. My son is in college now. He's a junior. I pick up the phone. I send a text message. Hey, how are you doing? It's as simple as, how are you doing? Anything new in your life? It's as simple as that. You'll be amazed how much answers or what that can open up in terms of what's going on. The well-being, as all my colleagues have mentioned, right? College is highly pressured with a lot of information, a lot of events, a lot of things going on, but also encouraging the student, hey, make sure while you're taking care of business, you're taking care of yourself, right? Because we're all human beings. We don't run on 24/7 batteries. We need a time to set aside, relax, and focus on the important things of life. Number one, health, and then everything else comes together. Trust the process. As my colleague Ava mentioned, she has a high schooler, right? It's hard to let go, right? It's like, oh my God, my baby's going off to college, and you're always going to think of your son or daughter as your babies. Once they step foot into a college, we like to treat, I always tell my students, you are now a young professional. We're shaping you up for the future. Finally, be supportive. This is very key. I hope you take this um, with the intent that the intentionality of what I'm about to say is to help you as a co-pilot, right? Aside from being a parent, but as a co-pilot, be supportive, not controlling. Two very different, distinct things that we do as parents is we like to control because we've been there since their birth. But now at the college level, you see all the wonderful people that are here with you tonight, this evening. We've been working at this for years. Everybody has over, if we put it everyone's years, it's over 100 years of experience, right? Trust the process, be supportive with your student, and you'll see how they're going to excel. You're going to be crying in graduation. We see it all the time, all the time. That is the culmination of everything that we're talking about tonight to shape and make that person who they're going to be 4 or 5 years from now. So those are the last points that I just wanted to mention to everyone.
And I just wanted to add one last thing before we close. They're going to make mistakes because that's very inevitable. And it's okay because that's how they're going to learn how to move forward and how they're going to make sure that they're making right decisions. So with that said, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I hope to see you at our final Real Talk series session on November 20th. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone, and go
Bye,
Yankees.
everyone.